All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about something called the Quantic IP Blueprint. And really, it's all about a new, way safer way to handle your intellectual property. Your big ideas. The whole thing is designed from the ground up to be, well, lock-proof.
Just think about this for a second. What if you were always in the driver's seat? What if you could never, ever be tracked by your IP provider? You could just walk away whenever you wanted, no drama, no crazy fees. That's the huge question this blueprint gets right to the heart of, and it's one of the biggest fears for any creator out there.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll look at the problem, what we'll call the IP management trap. Then, we'll see how this blueprint builds trust. We'll dig into the hard and fast rules that make it fair, see how they turn ethics into actual code, and then wrap up with why this could be a whole new standard for the industry.
Okay, so let's start with the problem. For anyone who's had to manage patents or trademarks or royalties, you know the feeling. The traditional system can feel like you're just walking right into a trap.
And this is what that trap looks like, right? You sign up with a provider, and before you know it, leaving feels impossible. You might get hit with surprise fee hikes. You might struggle to even get access to your own data. Maybe your royalty payments are slow, or worse, just plain wrong. And if you finally decide, okay, I've had enough, I'm out, good luck. The exit process is often a total nightmare, intentionally complex and super expensive. That's the extractive lock-in this whole blueprint is designed to kill.
So how do you fix something like that? Well, you don't just make a bunch of empty promises. You have to build a system where those problems can't even happen in the first place. The blueprint calls it an instrument-first IP infrastructure, which is really just a way of saying it's a system built on safeguards you can actually verify, not just on hoping your provider is a good person.
And this right here, this is the mission statement from the document itself. The phrase you really got to focus on is hard safeguards. This isn't about some company policy that can change tomorrow. We're talking about rules that are baked right into the technology and the contracts. The whole point is to have a system that's rock-solid, reliable, and fair by its very design. Okay, so that brings us to the nuts and bolts of this blueprint. These aren't just features you can turn on or off. The document calls them hard constraints. Let's break down the three most powerful ones. First up, we have dual key payout control, or K2. The easiest way to think about this is like a bank's safe deposit box. You know how you need your key and the bank manager's key to open it? Same idea here. For any of your money, your royalties, to move, it needs two digital keys, the provider's and yours. If you don't sign off on it, nothing happens, period. You have the final say over your cash.
Next, there's the exit runway service level agreement. And the best analogy for this is, seriously, a prenup. It's an agreement you make right at the start that guarantees your freedom to leave. If you ever decide you want to switch providers, they are contractually obligated, with real financial penalties if they fail, to make sure your exit is smooth, supportive, and completely painless.
And this isn't some vague idea. The blueprint lays out the exact steps. Step 1, within 72 hours, boom, you get a full package of all your data, dockets, everything. Step 2, for the next 90 days, they keep all your services running at the same price, which gives you plenty of breathing room. And finally, Step 3, they do what's called a hot handoff, meaning they actively work with your new provider to make the transfer seamless. It's a perfect example of turning a promise into a totally predictable process.
And the third big rule is the client referendum and veto. This is all about the power of the community. The provider can't just wake up one day and decide to jack up fees or change important terms. Any big change like that requires a 60-day warning, and then it has to be approved by a 2/3 supermajority vote of all the clients. If the clients voted down, it's dead. It's that simple.
And you might be thinking, yeah, right, does that really work? Well, they actually ran a simulation. They proposed a small fee increase, just 0.25%. It went to a vote, and only 41% of clients approved, nowhere near the 2/3 they needed. So what happened? The fee hike got vetoed. It's proof that this collective power is real. It actually works.
So we've got these hard-coded rules, but the blueprint takes it even one step further. It takes these fuzzy ideas like fairness and turns them into things you can actually measure. And that's this whole concept of ethics as code. So instead of just saying, hey, we're fair, trust us, this system tracks specific metrics or KPIs. Like, check out the DFI, the Dependency Fairness Index. That measures whether the pricing stays fair even as you become more and more dependent on the service. And notice the exit runway adherence. The target is 100%. These aren't just internal goals. These numbers are reported publicly.
It makes their ethics something you can actually audit, not just take their word for.
Which brings us to the big payoff. When you put together unbreakable rules with ethics you can actually check, what do you get? You get a system where trust isn't just something they ask for, it's something they can prove.
And that, right there, is the real takeaway. The whole philosophy is a massive shift. We're moving away from a model that's built on just trusting a provider's promises to a model that's built on verifying their proofs. The guarantees can be tested, the ethics can be measured, and the power stays with you, the creator.
And here it is, the single most powerful piece of proof from their simulations, 100%. So, what is that? It's the exit runway adherence in their live drills. When they put the system through its paces, every single time they faked a client leaving, it met those strict 72-hour export and 90-day mirror rules. The escape hatch doesn't just exist, it works. Every single time.
So we'll end on this question. After seeing a system where you have dual key control of your own money, a guaranteed way out, and veto power over the rules, and it's all been tested and proven to work, you just have to ask yourself, shouldn't this be the new bare minimum? Is this the new standard of care we should all expect for our ideas? It's a pretty powerful thought to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.